are, hold on, that are taking care of our beautiful children. And I just feel honored and thank you for having me here today to speak to you about my journey. I'm also a special needs parent. I was invited to talk to you about the grief and loss associated with being a special needs parent. And some of you might be thinking, okay, what does grief have to do with special needs parenting? What do you think of it when I say grief? Anybody? Just shout it out. Sorry. What? Loss. But what kind of loss, typically? Someone's died? Yes. Okay, so I'm very sorry for your loss. Some of the other things that pop up, anybody? Absolutely, and you're right on top. That's what I'm talking about today, and you don't have to apologize for crying. We're doing that. You're gonna say speak with me because this is what I do with all the time. We are trying to squelch that. Why it's important not to, and how your emotional health needs to be put on the front burner versus back on. We're busy, just like that. That's my son's 21 now. But on birth to, forever. It was just days long of like traveling through his schedule, making sure he got to the therapists he needed, making sure doing the right things for him. So, what is grief recovery method? I'm part of a network of people who work under the umbrella of the Grief Recovery Institute, which has been around for 40 years plus years. I brought the books with me. I'm sorry I don't have a lot to take here, but this is available on Amazon. I'm going to get this. This has been around for years. John James and Russell Reagan are pioneers in the grief field, and they had studied and discovered that there are over 40 different losses that we all deal with. And if you're going to therapy and you see people, this is what happened for me. I discovered that even though I'm working through all these different things, this topic never came up at all. And the reason that I feel so strongly about it, especially now, is with the layers of special needs parenting and the ages and stages of our kids and all the different things that we're experiencing and grieving, even though we don't know that it's grief. It's huge. It takes a toll, and it works in every area and aspect of your life. Your professional life, your personal life, your relationship with your children, your family, and it just goes everywhere. So if you're not doing this work, I want to talk about this because a lot of people don't make space for this. But I encourage you to dig a little deep and do some of this work when you're ready, because it really is phenomenal. It really frees you up to be more present in those relationships and to do everything that you need to do, because our people as well as we do. Period. So if you're not doing it wrong, guess what? It's not that time to build them down. So this is my agenda today. If you will, just take a deep breath with me. I know you've been here. I'm going to take you from intellect to the heart. And so in order to do that, I think we need to do a quick reset for those of you who want to breathe with me. Just a couple of deep breaths in and out. And in and out. And if you want to roll your neck, stretch a little bit, because we've been talking about some heavy topics, I'm sure, yesterday and today, this morning. They're important, don't get me wrong, but you need to reset and just kind of open yourself up to hearing what I'm going to talk about. It's not scary. It's just things that we don't make time to talk about. I'll talk about what is grief, the myths about it, STIRBs, what are they, how do they keep us stuck, and then give you some time for Q&A. I'd like to start off by giving you a little synopsis of what brought me to this work, and particularly how it really, as I said, is affecting you, but you're not really quite sure why, what's going on, until you sit down and so for myself, I was was a typewriter before all this, so it was none of my scope at all. But when I found it, I discovered it that was actually going through a lot of therapies and trying to get through therapy, dealing with all the different things that were happening. My son is 21. He used to work cleaning. He was a 31 child, and he also was he had a cyst which took over his brainstem a bit when he was 15 months old. So before that, I had irritable Parkinson's. So I was recovering from having a spinal fusion and just kind of mess that you could probably think about. And so that was before I knew that I was pregnant. So when he came earlier, I was not even remotely ready personally, but also physically. I was going through a lot of stuff. And then I thought, oh, well, this is really what brought me there, because as he progressed and was really having difficulties, I knew that divorce was imminent. His father and I were together for about 25 years, and in total. And my dad also was not doing well, and he was still living in New Jersey from the East Coast. So I was kind of trying to manage that. I'm the only last living relative. I lost my brother and mother before, and so it was a lot of stuff. Just kind of, I felt like he pounded on me. So I'm just bringing that up because those that you don't want to realize when you're having an impact on your life already, you have especially this child and have them, it was a lot. After the divorce, and by the time I came up with stress, I had some more back surgeries that I had to attend to. That took me out of recognition as a mother, and that's always never good because my son was trying to figure out what's going on. So all those things, and then I ran into a lot of stuff. So it really brought me to my knees, and I was like, nothing else happens perfect for me. What can I do? And I found this program through a friend, so I'm very committed to do it. And if I hadn't done it, I'm telling you, I'd still be struggling with a lot of these things. So this is just a reminder of what grief is. It's natural, normal occurrence, but we're all encouraged and we're all taught, frankly, unhealthy ways to cope with it, right? And what do we tell our children when something happens, when they've lost a pet, for instance? Anyone? Right. Go get another one. So that all that about reflecting the loss, getting on with it, time will heal. We talk about this as well. Those things are, even though it might, you don't want to see that your child or your loved one suffering, right? You don't want anybody to be sad, but you shouldn't be afraid to be sad. Shouldn't be afraid. I think the best thing you can do is to not only encourage, but allow your children and your loved ones to express their sadness. They need to be able to express. I know I'm talking to many of you. My side did talk to them before as well. Been walking through this too, but everybody's situation is unique, and I know you're waiting for that language. They may not be able to express that sadness, but I'm telling you, they know what's there, and they feel it, right? And they sense it. They sense something's up. So whatever way you can find for each other to communicate, and even if they're minimally, just keep at it. And I encourage you to just keep at it, because I know it takes a long time, but you will get there. Some of the signs of grieving, I've already mentioned for myself, some of these that I hit. But if you're experiencing these and or your friend is, and you know there's something up, and they're just like very, very keeping you at a distance, and they don't want to talk about it, you need to open up with people. And I know your friends are going to want to help you as well, but they're not therapists. They're not trained in this method or any other method. So as well a meeting as they are, you need to get to somebody who can work with you through this. Here's some different type of losses I wanted to just put up here and remind you of, because there are so many that we talk about or you can recognize as. But abuse is one of the losses of safety. Neglect, retirement, empty nest. The typical kids that are empty nest now and we're now discovering, they need to work on a few things because kids are going to have to time for us to experience that, oh yeah, this is affecting me, this is something that I need to work on. Moving is up here. That was a big one for my son, actually, and myself, and I didn't realize it until I went through this as well. We moved, I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we moved a lot. I don't even want to tell you how much within a decade in rentals, trying to figure out whether, okay, is this school system going to be right for him? Is this going to work for us? We really want to invest in property here. And within each move, your kids, your families probably get used to the routines and the structures and the people around them and the neighbors from the neighborhood. I didn't realize how much of a loss that was as far as like actually taking time, because you're so busy packing up and getting ready and doing all the stuff. You're just say goodbye to things, allowing them to say goodbye, even to his bedroom. This is huge. Like, I was like, okay, let's do this right for the last time that I did gone through this. And I found him, he wasn't speaking very much at that point, but I found him lying in the bedroom when all the boxes were away and everything was, out of there, on his bedroom floor where the bed is, and just kind of laying there and sat. And I was like, wow, okay, let's talk about this. So, you find whatever method works for your child and whatever works for you. You find ways, and if it's art, our kids are huge, it's creative arts, right? Expressing themselves on that. Allow them to express it, allow them to prove it. And then my speech therapist actually had us do a social story for the new house and showing me, the pictures and talking about where we're going, what it's going to look like, all those things. So just getting help from your resources as well. I encourage you to do that because you just don't realize that, yeah, they're experiencing this. And so he talks about now, missing the neighbor John, all these cool things, and it just kind of comes up, and we're able to discuss it, or talk about it, or a picture, or whatever. So those things are real, and I just wanted to mention that because you may not even think about it. So, that last one, caregiver burnout, is huge. Anybody tired in the room? Are you exhausted? Right? It's a lot. And then some of you are holding on regular full-time jobs as well, trying to figure this out. So just by a show of hands, since I know we talked about, or I've been listening to the speech therapist and so on, but how many of you have children elementary school age? Okay. And how many of you have middle school, high school? Okay. And then over 21, 20 to 30. So there's a good variance in the room. Okay. We have those stages. I call them stages and ages. I distinctly remember the 0 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to whatever, 9, 10, the middle school, high school years, and all the things that are typical periods were encouraged, right? We're going through advocating for our kids, taking them to therapies, getting them to function better within this world. And yet, we're not taking care of ourselves, but also we're not taking a moment to say, okay, this is why I feel the way I feel, because such and such is moving on. The best buddies, the best buddies and have them in their school system. Okay, which is just, typical peers that are set up to support our kids in school and in activities. And our kids have a relationship with them, and they build trust, and they love to see them, right? And then they move on, right? Move on, their peers are moving on to high school, they're going on to college, et cetera, et cetera. Those moments are lost. And what do we do with it? Usually just ignore it, spell check, whatever. I'm encouraging you to release that. Our program is a step-by-step program which allows you to really get complete with I call it unmet extremes expectations. The better, more different that we could have had with our child, or whatever the relationship is. I'm using our child for this talk, but it is for whatever the loss is. So that's a big thing. The myths about life. We've talked about the replacing the loss. Don't feel bad. We're taught that from an early age, right? We don't want to go to your room, Gina. Go to your room. The being in being alone. So I want you to encourage you to stop isolating, stop teaching that, because it's not healthy. Time heals all wounds, right? I've known, how many of you have known other people who are still grieving the loss of a parent or a sibling for decades? How long? 25 years ago, your parent? My brother. Your brother, sorry. What was his name? Right. So, coping skills. So the coping skills you feel like that you have learned at this point are helping you to deal with it. Yes. Yeah. So parents, friends, your child, without a child. Well, it's the same. We're all going to get 100% situations including eating. And so, I was from brother when I was 19 as well, so it was just, they tell you, this is what I learned. Like, okay, you just kind of have to push through. And you're such a strong person, you're going well. You're so strong. I don't know how you do it. Eventually, break down. You don't, and that's when you get some confidence. But I won't think you can whole program, but I will say that it is allowing yourself to, at the end of the day, it would be unspoken communication with if it's a person who's a living or dead, for me, to allow myself to express those unmet extreme expectations you have, what was not going to happen, and how to sort of hurt him, and allow you to free yourself from that pain. But you only can do that by walking through it with another individual, right? You can't do this alone. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Any questions to this point? Or comments? To be strong for others. I already talked about that. You're so strong. Keeping busy. This is a huge one in our culture. You wouldn't, can't tell you how many people told me, just, do this, do that, get busy, take a class. Now you have time to do this. And I was like, no, that's not going to help me. Or replace the loss. Find another man, find another person, who's going to be better. Those things, they might help you in the short term. They're definitely going to help you long term. You're going to have more problems. So I always stop here and say, how are you really feeling today? How are you feeling? Because we are so good at putting on the mask and saying, I'm fine, I'm good. I'm going to the doctor's visit. I'm going to see the speech therapist today. I'm good. I'm fine. And then you find yourself, a day or two later in a pile of tears on the floor. Just like, what's happening? Why am I feeling this way? You can share that with your close friends. You can share that with people, with your partner. I'm not discouraging you from doing that, but I am encouraging you to go deeper and go a step further and really do some of the work. It's not scary, I promise. It will help you. I always remind people that you don't work it works you in unhealthy ways. And I'm a living example of that with all the different physical things that happened to me after keeping it together. In 2018, I had, and these pictures are terrible, sorry, but I'm finding a lot of pictures and I had radiating pain, which I had no idea. Depressed nerve down my right side, in my toe. I never experienced. I don't think it's like I pulled a muscle. I was riding at the time and doing some other physical activities, and I thought I just hurt myself. I'll be fine. It wasn't getting any better, and thankfully somebody told me get an X-ray, get it done, and sure enough, I had a herniated disc that I had to take care of. So I had done more damage to myself by driving down to Galveston, going on these trips and doing this stuff and just ignoring it or thinking I was going to get better. I was miserable. I was trying to keep it together for my kid, and that also, again, just knowing now what I know, what I didn't know then, and again, just realizing that we kind of know this at an inherent level as parents, mother or father, primary caregiver or mom. Our children are picking up on how you're doing. They're picking up on the energy in the room, and picking up on it. If you're meeting someone new, you can stop right away. Oh, they get along with it, they get with it, they interact. They feel those emotions. So that's another thing to just be aware of. And if you can clear off your plate again and clean up some of that emotional baggage, I call it, that's going to help you in the long run. The emotional swings, he was feeling it too. Traveling is a big one. We all go on trips or go on a girls' trip. Let's go to Miami. Yeah, let's do it. We went, I come back home, I still got to deal with my mess. So it's a short-term thing. It feels good in the short term. And that's just it's bad to do, but it just realizing that, okay, I've got a lot on my plate. Maybe I need to sit down and take a break from this and deal with it. So not fine. Having the courage to say, I'm not fine. I need help. I've gone this far. I don't know what to do. So calling somebody again that's been trained in this program, if you have a therapist that's already working with you, I'd encourage you to reconnect with that individual and introduce them to this. Because a lot of licensed professional counselors, they get very little in their actual program on grief, where this is all about that. So I was struggling to get back to myself. I'm always feeling like I'm struggling to get back to myself. What else was I carrying around? And the program, we identified early on, what are you carrying around? And you get to choose what you want to work on first. For me, there was a lot of other stuff, and I just listed it here. For you, it's going to be different, and you're going to be like, wow, okay, I forgot about that. But I had a lot of old things that I hadn't thought about in years. Sitting in the room when I went through this program and was going through the training to become certified in it. And I didn't realize that, 30 years later, I'm talking about my uncle and his death and how it had impacted me, and hadn't really talked about that in so long. And I didn't realize that I was taking a lot of that mess into my other relationships. So if I hadn't gone through this, I wouldn't realize that. It helped, again, at the time, with the divorce and all the other things that I was experiencing. But I had, just to quickly recap on that, when I was 15, we were living in New York. Most of my family, my extended family, my dad's family, my mom's family are from El Paso and New Mexico. And we grew up in Jersey, and they took us far away from possible. I was in the military because we wanted to do the New York City thing. So we did. It was great growing up in northern New Jersey, but I didn't have a lot of extended family around me. But my uncle Jesse did live up there, and that was part of the reason why he moved up there. This is his older brother. I had a really close relationship to him, and for some reason, again, I was 15 years old. I didn't wind up going to his funeral. He was buried back in the house, and I didn't wind up going to the funeral. I didn't wind up going through all those rituals, and it really messed with my head. So one more time, I would like to encourage you, if you do have kids, we try to, I don't know, I never got the full story as to why that happened and trying to protect me, kind of like when my brother died, and they were trying to protect me from all these things, but I was for themselves. A lot of that stuff is kind of, I carried it with me, and later in life, you don't realize it's really messing with you when you kind of experience other losses, and that's why I encourage people to dig deep and kind of clean that out, because it will be unhealthy. It moves in unhealthy ways. Lots of moves, the loneliness of it all, loss of a healthy child. I always felt like this shouldn't be happening. What did I do wrong? What happened? Maybe it was a car accident. I went through all this stuff. It was not healthy. It was not helping anybody. But eventually, when I got to this, I was able to release it and let it go. And also learn skills that are going to help me the next time something happens, because life just keeps going. we're going to have more things happen, period. It's just life. What are the things that we use as crutches? They're called STIRBs in our program, short-term energy relieving behaviors. They make us feel short-term, but they don't really do anything. They don't solve anything. They're a way for us to numb our feelings. And numbing your feelings, how's that working for you? You know, how many of these have you done in the last, I'd say the last week? Okay, food is a huge one. We know, unfortunately, crunch for people, alcohol. I had two parents that died of cirrhosis of the liver, so I'm very much, you know, child of alcoholic, you know, the whole story, or the commonalities, I guess, of that human experience. So I didn't use that as a crutch, but I used a lot of others. So, yeah, and isolation is another big one that winds up being horrible, not just for me talking about it, but for your physical health. Anybody read or familiar with the book? I'm sorry, The Body Keeps the Score? Yeah, right? So the trauma, he's all about Dr. What's his name? Vanderkoop? Talks about trauma and how it's physically manifests in your body and will stay there unless you do something with it. So, and I'm simplifying it, but grief and accumulated grief, all those things that I was talking about that were affecting me but I wasn't aware of, that's going to take a toll from you. Don't do something with it. And yeah, working out and doing all these things, these are healthy things for you, and eating right and so on. But to really touch the things that are emotionally affecting you and breaking your heart, you need to work on it with a professional. Period. So grief recovery method in itself, one of the best tools I found, again, not making any money from your folks, but I'm talking, this is the program that has helped me because I did so many years of therapy, wasted money, that I wish I'm not saying therapists are bad, but if we just touched on this topic remotely, I would have been so much better off and not wasting so much time. So that's why I'm trying to help people with this now. Identifying relationships causing you pain. I think I can do them already. That could be causing you some pain, and it's just filtering down to, you know, what are you hanging on to that's keeping you stuck, and therefore keeping your children stuck potentially, or you're teaching them an unhealthy way of dealing with whatever is affecting them, or not even allowing them to express themselves in that emotion, and then silence. The stages of grief, you know, at the elementary stage or at the beginning, elementary, high school, post high school, when you're going to fill out paperwork and making the decision to get guardianship for your son or daughter. That's a huge grief event. You know, I was like, oh, I've got to talk to all my friends about this, like when I was experiencing it, when my son turned that age and we had to deal with that. And you kind of prepare yourself mentally. Again, it's that going from the intellect to the heart. You prepare yourself and you're like, okay, no, I need to go through these things and this is going to happen at this stage and this age. And when they're 5 and 6, you kind of got it and it's in your head. But when you actually get there, it's like, whoa, I wish somebody had prepared me for this. Nobody can really prepare you, but you can, if you're not sharing it and not getting this out emotionally, you're going to be a wreck and not know what to do with it and go back to the STIRBs. Teaching your children how to manage loss. Each one. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break here. And what I'd like you to do, you don't have to share this unless you want to, but just jot down on your paper, on your phone in front of you, some of the STIRBs you're using right now to avoid feeling the pain that we've just talked about, some of those stages and stages as a special needs caregiver or parent. And write down a couple of things that you wish were more, better, different in your relationship with your son or daughter or grandkid. I know some people here are grandparents. Whatever your relationship is. And just see it in writing. Sometimes it helps just to write that out. And this is just the beginning stage. If you meet with me or anyone else that's portrayed in this program, we'll lead you through what you need to do next in order to extrapolate that and eventually come to a place of, okay, writing that letter to that individual and saying what you need to say, the unmet hopes, dreams, expectations that you had. I wish, I envisioned that Kenneth was going to be musically inclined like myself. I played clarinet from the fourth grade all the way up. It was my life. Marching band, pit band, all that stuff. My friends were along. And I know he's going to be the same. Maybe he used to do as the instrument. It's going to be the same. It didn't happen in our world. That's okay. But those are the kind of things that can keep you like stuck. I really wanted this for them. I really wanted it, for men, it's sports sometimes, right? My ex was just like, he still can't really operate around. We have some Special Olympics basketball, and I'm really grateful that I found a parent who's coaching golf, and his son George is into it, and it's really good. But I just need to try to do it as a man. Yeah, it's a big offer, but he always like stop on this idea that he can't throw football around here, he can't do whatever basketball, baseball. And I'm just like, let's find something that he likes, bowling. You just go with him. And I'm glad he's doing what he can do at this point. He's a brown belt and karate. Like finding the resources, finding the people that can teach your kids a thing. And they do progress, they do age, they do much more. I'm not as familiar with the DYRK1A experience. However, I see a lot of commonalities as I'm sitting there listening to the speech therapist and also looking at your website as far as the type of therapies and the type of things my son was challenged with. Call it autism, call it whatever. We still need to get those things in order to help them progress. So, and as we get older, thank God we're able to do some different things. But anyway. Any questions, comments? Yeah. The part of me that develops fear. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah. He's talking about the theater and the conflict brief and the field. It's very real. Feeling that we have, especially when you do somebody that you can't call them, you can't talk to them, you can't. Absolutely. And it's okay. It's okay to still talk to them. I still talk to them. My dad was kind of ironic in that because I lost relationship back to me and we were very close. But it was hard, very difficult to not be able to just pick up the phone. That's the first thing I feel right away is when I pick up the phone and call them. Absolutely. Okay. Yes, calling and getting a voicemail or listening to the last voicemail that they gave they left for you. And those things are comforting and they're good and they're beautiful and you should save those and you should share them with your loved ones. And even if they didn't, my son just grew up with my brother. Talk about it. He knew my father, my mother, but we talk about those things, and it's fine to share those things. But what you're experiencing is completely normal. I would say that the awareness is the first step. but going into DT and saying goodbye is the next step. And it is and in our program, it is actually round 7 and sharing that, not just write it down, but a letter composed of very specific things of unmet communication in terms of forgivenesses and significant emotional statements that we never got to voice with them. And so sharing that with another individual, it's like huge. That's how we issues around. And it's okay, because that's a normal experience. We all have to, we're all grieving something at any one time. Even today, everybody in this room has something. And we're not going to compare. Just everybody grieves that 100%. And so about their kids and how they were, oh, it was a love that they couldn't go, how distraught they were, but they were, yeah, trying to replace it. Did you allow Susie to talk to you about, what that means to her? Why she's so upset? Well, now we're just trying to, get off the trip. And I'm like, hey, get off the trip. Yeah, that's fine. I understand that part, but she is grieving that loss, whatever, the animal, the stuffed animal, at 100%. They got that. It's our duty as parents, as the adults, to help them to process that and be healthier about that when it's not happens, you know what I mean? So these are some of the things to keep in mind. Anyone else want to share? Thank you guys for being honest and open with me and with us about that. That's beautiful. Okay. Taking the first step, as I said, being honest with yourself at whatever stage you're in right now. And again, I'm taking this back to us as being caregivers and parents, giving yourself credit for where you are today. There is no playbook for any of this. When we got the diagnosis, I remember for us, it was, as I said, my son had a cyst in his brain and he was not developing, and I knew they were like, oh, he's going to catch up, he's going to catch up. As parents, at 1 year old, he was not doing what he needed to do, and I just thought, okay, it's something else. But we typically get our diagnosis at around age 2. And so that I remember that day. I'm sure many of you remember the day that you got diagnosis and what you did, how you experienced that, and the range of emotions that you may or may not have had right then and there or shortly thereafter. And what did you do with that? Right? Just got to keep moving, Gina. You just got to get through it. What did your friends tell you to do? You focus on your other children. You have other children. It's beautiful. Like, you're going to be okay. The worst thing you can say to any individual that's lost a child, or that's especially people who've lost a child, so you can have other children. It's a blessing. That's so painful. That's not what people want to hear, right? Ever. But our society and culture has taught us to, to say those things. We have to be better, do better. I talked about needing new tools. Grief recovery will help you with that, and strategies for healing yourself. The kids only do as well as we do, so you need to come up with something that's going to help you. And I know I'm talking to people who have a fully loaded schedule right now, trying to take care of your kids, but you need to put yourself on the front burner, because as I said before, if you don't, it's only going to rear its head at some point, and you're going to have to deal with it. Leaning on others, this is an obvious one. You're here today, many people from other parts of the country, and this is your support network, this is your tribe. We're all in this tribe, and that's beautiful. But find locally resources and people that you can lean on, not only, again, social support for your kids, but also for yourself. I listed one here at the end, IBelong.art, which is a local nonprofit that just started a couple of years ago out of our karate group. And they meet on the second Saturday in Flower Mound and the fourth Saturday in the Dallas area. You can go to their site and check it out. But they're all about building community and using creative arts for our children with intellectual disabilities. So it doesn't matter what the diagnosis is, you are family. So if you want to check that out, I encourage you to, because the kids get, we have yoga, we have music, drumming circles, we have summer camps, they have cooking creations. So it's beautiful because a lot of our kids can't express themselves. That's a big challenge for many of them, but they are able to do these things that allow themselves to express in a creative way. So that's another one I want to bring to your attention. If you're not familiar with it and you're local, to go check that out. Church groups, school networks, parent groups, all the obvious ones. Anybody familiar with the Notre Dame School of Dallas here? I did talk to Jackie earlier. That's where my son is attending right now, and it's a great school. They started out with Down syndrome kids primarily, but now they have about, I don't know, it's not quite half and half, but they have a lot of kids with autism there and just a range of challenges. But it is a school that goes from 0 to 18 traditionally, but they also have a vocational program from 18 to 21, which is a full day basic program, and then they have an after 21 program called STAR. So if you're not familiar with that, and you know somebody that's looking for that, I just want to mention that school is there, and we love it. It's been a beautiful way for my son to gain some more social and engage in the visiting and companies that they are going out to work at. So he wouldn't get that otherwise. In our school system's transition program, it just wasn't going to happen. So just wanted to mention that as well. There's a variety of others in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, including Cornerstone Ranch, possibilities, etc. So, if you're connected, or if you aren't already connected, shoot me an email. I'll share the resources with you if it applies, and it's what I do. I was an advocate during all the years that I spent at home with my son, trying to figure out what we need to do and how we can improve his world and his life. But I put this up here in these pictures just to remember, what's your why? Why do you do this? It's for them, right? And instead of getting pulled under from all the things, I now can enjoy those moments, the prom, the senior graduation where he got to walk the stage with his peers. Several little moments, milestones for us that were huge, that I didn't think, he may or may not be able to do. He's doing them. The karate, these are old pictures, but Beyond Karate is another one locally. If you're not familiar with that, VTech and his team, they're just phenomenal working with our kids that of all stages. He doesn't ask questions about what therapies they're in or what, this and that. They're just regular kids doing the program and teaching them the exact same karate that he learns for himself as an adult on Saturdays, the exact same structure. It's not really modified all that much. He has it laid out so that when they get to that higher level, I don't know if anybody's in martial arts here, but when you get to that higher level of those belts, they have to go a little bit longer on the brown belt in order for them to get to the black. But he has several kids, young adults with disabilities, varying disabilities that are black ones in his program. So it's possible. There's things that are possible. Okay, I think I'm about at the end here. I try to run through that quickly. This says it all. One of the best things that you can do is to get emotionally complete with any past losses in your life. As I said, the accumulated grief events and things that have affected me, once I got clear on that and once I was able to move through that in a positive way, in a healthy way, I was more available to be able to focus on my son if he needed. It's not magical, it's just a lot of her brain. And it takes a moment, it takes hard work. It's something that, nobody ever, if you told me this would be 5, I'm like, no, this is crazy, I really found the schedule. But as you move through it, you will be surprised how much it frees you up. So. Okay, that's what I wanted to share. I hope you got something out of this. And is there any questions or any comments at the end here? Thank you so much.